Hi, Carly.
Hi, Jadyn.
How are you?
I'm great because I'm on your podcast. How are you?
I'm so excited that you're here. So I'm amazing.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. Behind the spotlight, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So today I'm chatting with Carly Heitner. Carly is the host of the beloved social media series Picnic Playlist. Welcome to the podcast.
Best day ever.
So I think it's really special that you're here today because if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be a thing. So this is like an honorary podcast episode.
Oh my God. Well, I am so honored and so proud of you. And I can't wait for our conversation and I can't wait for all of the Behind the Spotlights episode.
Thank you so much. You're about to have the best time of your life. Let's begin.
Wow.
So, how did your whole theater journey start? Was there like a specific theatrical experience that like inspired you to be where you are today?
Oh my God. Where I am today is such a funny sentence, but I will take it. A win is a win. But no, I've loved theater for as long as I can remember. I saw my first show when I was 2.5 years old. It was Mamma Mia. And we sat in the front row, and the girl playing Sophie pointed to my brother and he cried. I was just like, for as long as I can remember, seeing shows every year and didn't even really have a choice in the best way. And I just loved it. And I was just immediately gravitated towards theater. So I just grew up seeing shows for as long as I could remember. And then when I was in elementary school, maybe even a little bit younger, my parents put me in theater. I don't even truly know why. I think just because it was a fun thing for me to do. They also liked theater, like they like going to shows, and I clearly was excited for some attention. So they were like, this is a great way to get her the attention she craves. And I started doing community theater and I just fell in love with it. I loved the community, which is a funny word when you talk about community theater. I think it really does provide such a community on top of course, like my love for the arts in general and what we're doing there. I think first and foremost, I gravitated towards the people that were doing shows with me. And that's kind of where it all started. And then I just grew up performing. I was never very good at it, honestly, but I always cared probably more than anyone else in the room. I was just so happy to be there and wanted to continue to immerse myself in the theater.
Of course, that's an amazing story. I can't believe your first show was Mamma Mia as a 2-year-old. That's crazy. Do you like
I know you
remember
knew what was happening,
Yeah.
but ABBA never fails.
Seriously, that's the title of the episode. I've never.
Never does.
Also, we went to the same community theater, and obviously we have to talk about the shows you've done. Is there any show in particular that like you did that really highlights you as an individual?
Um, okay. I think I have two answers for you for that. Nope, I'm gonna give you three. That's crazy.
Perfect.
Kind of in different periods of my life. The first one is I actually played my first show ever. I was Miss Lynch in Greece. And there was one night where the girl who was playing Jan didn't show up. And there was only 4 shows in total. She didn't show up and like nobody knew what to do. And it was also the same night that all of my friends came to watch me in the show. And I don't even really remember how it happened, but I wound up my doubles, like there was somebody that was covering my part also, was in the audience. And so she went on for my part, and then I went on for Jan with a script in my hand. And it was the first show that I ever did in community theater. And I have a video of it. And it, like my dad to this day still is like, it's my favorite performance of yours because this was like kind of me. They didn't show up. Someone was like, can someone do this? And I was like, yeah, I'll try. I don't know. And I kind of just went for it. And I think that kind of exudes exactly what I love about theater and performing, or I don't really perform anymore, but like what I did love, which is kind of just like letting loose and trying new things. And so that I think definitely resonates with me and my identity. I was in 13 the musical when I was in middle school. And I think that was kind of just a pivotal show for me. I played Lucy, the mean girl, which was so fun because I never played like a mean girl before. Also, she's a little bit more of an alto writes, you know. I was really excited and I just loved that show. And I think that was, again, one of the first times that I was surrounded by people my age all doing a show that had themes around what we did. Like when you do like a Beauty and the Beast or something like that, so fun. But when you do 13 the musical, these are like real struggles and successes that you're dealing with as a teenager.
Uh-huh.
I think living through that and doing that show, I just like discovered a lot about myself.
I think what's crazy is our community theater did 13 like almost every year. That was like their thing. Like once you got to the age of 13, like you do 13, it was the most exciting. And we would cast the show based on our classes, like who's gonna be in what role. My year, we never did it. So I never got.
You never got to do 13.
We never did Bye Bye Birdie instead. They were trying to change it up a little bit that year. So I never got
another teen angst kind of show.
Yeah. So maybe it'll come in my future. Maybe one day.
Well, 13, as you know, is never. Sorry, there's a weird sunlight in my face. It's never too late to do 13 the musical.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be, but I did just do 13 the musical again this year, in a more production standpoint. So it really never leaves you. And I think that aside from the music being bop after bop, I think those themes still even resonate as a 20-something-year-old. The themes of just trying to fit in and find yourself and find the people around you who support you for being you. I think that never gets old.
Yes. What 13 song were you bopping your head to when you were younger?
Oh my God. If that's what it is, I think will always hit for me. I think that
That is
of it.
13 song.
That is my favorite 13 song. Is that crazy?
Wait, we have the same favorite.
Of course we do.
So brand.
You take your best shot.
And look what you got. Oh, so good.
Besides the fact that the harmony is gorge, I think it's a really beautiful message.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
And then my last answer, because I had to be extra and give you 3, is when I did Hair. I did twice. I did once as Jeannie, but the time that I think resonates with me the most is when I was in the ensemble. So the same thing of like the community. I think that's such a great show to bond with people. Like you really feel like you get to know people, and it talks about a lot of like social justice issues and topics that as a high schooler, which is when I did it, it's really interesting to learn about a lot of that. It's a lot of stuff that I didn't even know, and to feel like you're carrying this message of activism through this show. I think it was just really empowering for me. And it was one of the first shows that I did where I felt like I was like, oh, I really understand this purpose.
Yeah, those are really.
There's a lot of really inappropriate stuff in that show that's fun to do when you're in high school. Giving youth theater opportunity to do provocative and thought-provoking shows when they are that young is the best thing that you can do.
It like educates us.
Everyone at that age is curious about everything in the world. So I think that theater is one of the best ways to teach and communicate all of that.
Yes, even the little things. Like there's so many stories that we wouldn't know unless we saw them on stage.
Yeah.
So to answer my own statement that I just said, we're smarter than everyone else.
Theater kids are smarter than everyone else.
We are like Albert Einstein who? Like I only know Stephen Sondheim. Come on.
I've always said that.
How old were you when you realized like this could be a career?
I think I realized when I was in high school that I wasn't very good, which is okay. It was fine. It wasn't great. Also, that I had a lot of other interests. I remember when I was a senior in high school, I actually also went to a performing arts high school half day. That was interesting, actually. I was technically an acting major, but I think there actually I discovered a lot about the other parts of the industry that I didn't learn through community theater and or through high school, like regular high school theater, because they were more interested in teaching about all of these aspects. Also at the time that I was there, the school was like close to shutting down, and Billy Joel came and donated $1.5 million to the school and saved the school while I was a junior in school. And like we would like he like came to school and like hung out with us, and it was kind of actually crazy.
Billy Joel saved your education.
He really did. But I think something at Lisa that I really took away was this wanting to help make something happen. And I was surrounded by really talented people who cared really deeply about the craft. And as much as I loved watching, I didn't care about the craft and were like nailing something myself in the same way that I think my friends did, which is why when I realized that I didn't want to be on stage, and I like produced our student run end of the year show. I was like in charge of getting the lineup and all of that stuff, which to me, I kind of did that a lot of my life, where I would help put on like shows at summer camp and things like that. And I never really realized that I was like, oh, I like really like this and I'm really good at making something happen. And so that was one of the first moments where I was like, oh, okay, like somebody actually has to help make this show happen that's not on stage. And that's really important. And I'm really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the first moments. And like nowadays, I do marketing and interviews and like a bunch of different aspects of things. It's not necessarily, I'm not really a producer. So I don't necessarily, or stage manager, so I don't put on the shows in that way. But I do think that all of these other aspects are vital parts in making a show happen without being a performer. And I think that's what I learned from that. I was like, oh, okay, so how can I be in this world and cheer on the thing that I love so much without actually doing it?
Were you part of your high school theater club?
I was.
What shows did you do?
So high school theater was a little complicated. Like I said, for two reasons. One, I went to two different high schools. So I had a whole theater life at this performing arts high school that I did half day. And then I also had a theater life in my actual high school, in addition to the community theater I did. But in my actual high school, which I went to Roslyn High School, I did 3 shows. Nope, I did 4 shows in my time there. And I did 3 in the first 2 years, which was Little Shop of Horrors, Jesus Christ Superstar, and In the Heights, which are the 3 shows that we did. And I loved my theater director. My older brother, actually, both my brothers did theater at one point in their life. Again, not very good at it, but I loved it so much. And I was like, I have brothers. I'll make them like play the boy parts in the shows when we like needed like one boy to like say a line here or there. But I think they both actually really enjoyed it for a hot second. And Adam, especially my older brother, he also did all of the shows in high school. Like he was on the board and he did it before I did. So immediately from freshman year, I was there and I was in it and I loved it. So I did those 3 shows, and we had our director was there for like 32 years, I think it was. And he retired at the end of my sophomore year. So it was a great 2 years of doing those 2 shows. And then we got a new director who we just weren't so receptive to, unfortunately. So I did 1 show with her that was almost main. I was Glory. I had my heart in the bag. And I did that in the fall. And then I chose to actually not continue doing the shows. There was another thing in my school called like the fashion show, and I was a part of that. And I had like speech and debate I was a really big part of in high school too. And it was hard to kind of balance it all. And like my theater club was actually not giving me what I was really enjoying at that moment. So I kind of focused otherwise. But I did still somehow run for president of my drama club for senior year without doing the spring show. And I did get elected as president. So I was president of my drama club senior year, and I didn't do either show, which is kind of crazy.
That is a little.
I'm a little crazy.
No, 100%.
I always love being on boards of things, and again, like I said, helping make things happen. And it's so funny because when I was like a freshman, I was like, I'm obviously going to be president of the drama club when I was senior, which I was, but it definitely turned into a direction where I was like, I also thought that I would be doing the shows and the lead of the shows, but not everything, not every path sees itself through. And also I was still involved, and I still had board meetings and helped make the shows happen and help make the playbills happen. I also was, it's this was actually a big position in our school. I was the box office manager, which like people would like claw to be box office manager.
I need to
Like
hear all about that.
Adam, my older brother, did it when he was a senior. Like it was something that like was kind of really coveted in our school. So I was both of those two things. And I think it's just because you had a key to the box office, which is like a little room that you could like hang out in any time of the day. So I think that's why it was really cool to like do box office and sell tickets. I don't know, but I did help like coordinate box office stuff and playbills and the cast parties and things like that, even though I wasn't in the show. So, you know, sometimes it's nice to have somebody do all that work for you that's not in the show. I mean, in theory, like I said before, like having a producer that helps make things happen that isn't necessarily the star of it. I think that that's actually a really cool thing.
No, it is. Wait, what's the box office? Did you like all eat like lunch in the box office? Like, was that like your guys' like safe space? Well, I'm asking because like we would all the theater kids would eat lunch in our little theater. So it's like a little black box theater and we all just sit there and eat lunch.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. It was like a little room that like you could just go hang out in whatever. So, and it was ours and I had a key. So,
Yeah.
the win is a win.
Like the little theater was our space. Like nobody else was. Outsiders weren't. I mean, obviously we would be like, okay, why are you here? But like they'd be welcome in. But like that was.
Yeah,
our.
I think that's always a really funny part of theater in high schools is like you become so close with those people and your director always, and you have these rooms that are designated for theater space. Whereas other people, I guess sports also have that a little bit like with their gym and stuff. They're with their gym sports. I don't know.
Obviously.
But we would hang out in there whenever we weren't in class, whenever we after school, like, you know,
Yeah.
it was an open door, which was kind of really wonderful.
Did you ever consider going to college for theater?
I don't think I considered going to college for theater. I definitely didn't consider going for performing.
Mhm.
Actually, my senior year of high school, when I was at Lisa, everyone was always working on their auditions, and I was like, okay, I have time to like chill. But I never considered going for theater. I always loved to write.
Mm-hmm.
English was my best subject. Like I said before, I was really involved with speech and debate. I loved public speaking. And something that I really wanted to do was always kind of be a host. The marketing stuff came later. I was an English journalism major in school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know I wanted to do business, which now like makes sense. And I kind of wish I focused on it a little more, but I was English journalism. And that was kind of from, I think, my junior year of high school on. I was like, oh, this is something I can do. I can host and I can talk to people and I could share stories from shows. There were books that I read in high school about like theater history and all these stories that I was like, how can I share those? Whether it's like writing a book or hosting and talking and interviewing people. So no, I didn't consider going for theater. Also, as much as I loved theater, I also would have been okay. I love pop culture. I love a lot of other topics too. So I would have been okay working in the journalism and or hosting world or writing world in like talking about reality TV or talking about, you know, music or other things. I think theater is the thing I care about the most, which is why it worked out, hopefully, and it makes sense. But yeah.
Right, totally. So you were very involved in your high school, like the school and like extracurriculars. You went to Binghamton. Were there any student groups that you were a part of there?
Yeah, I actually was not involved with theater at all in Binghamton,
Mm-hmm.
which was a big change and kind of jarring at first, but it's hard to do shows at a college and be involved with them if you're not in that program. I think it actually, and a lot of programs need to even work on this, you know, there is a lot of like, if you're not signed up for this like conservatory type program or you're not in this major, you can't really be involved.
Even if you are in the major, it's still so hard to be involved.
Yeah. So I think that I kind of was like, okay, there's not really a route here. So I took a little bit of a break from that. And I was involved in a sorority in college. I was involved in Jewish life on campus. And that was really it. I did a lot of like philanthropy things with my sorority. Like I was the vice president of philanthropy. So I always loved like community service and philanthropic events and working on things in that way. However, the beginning of my sophomore year of college is when I started meeting people in New York City and working with them on shows in New York. So I definitely got that theater bug back. really quickly, like about a year in, because I would do stuff in New York City. And so then I didn't really feel like I was missing it at school, because when I was home, I would go work on shows.
As one college student does.
As one college student does, from one hard worker to the next.
You started working in the Broadway industry while you were in college.
Yeah. So the first show that I worked on was Be More Chill. I actually met Joe Iconis and Jen Tepper, who Jen produced Be More Chill, and Jerry Goring, who produced Be More Chill, and Joe wrote it. Right after my freshman year of college. I saw the show off Broadway, and I connected with them in the lobby, actually, and asked them for a photo.
Right.
And then literally tweeted out that photo that night, got reached out to by the Be More Chill like Instagram account or Twitter account, one of the two. And they asked me to come back to see the show later that week and to do an article with NPR for the show. So that's my big break, quote unquote.
Right.
But this was kind of crazy, because at this point I'm a journalism major, and I'm like, this is NPR, like this is National Public Radio. And I thought it was like spam at first, like the message. I was like, what? At first they were like, we want you to do a quote for an article. And I was like, what? And then I emailed the producer, and they explained the whole thing to me. And I came back to see the show a few days later. I'd actually already moved up to school, like to Binghamton, into college. And I took a bus for 4 hours to the city, met my brother, he came with me, saw the show. And then Jeff London, who works for NPR, basically, because Be More Chill was so fan driven, they wanted to get a fan to help with the story. Actually, like it's so funny because there were so many hardcore fans, and I'd just seen the show the week before, and I was like, this is great, but I like don't know like the lore behind it.
Yeah.
So I remember on like the bus ride down from the city, I was listening, and I was like, what if they quiz me on lyrics? Like, I need to know everything.
Yeah.
And then I went to the show, and then I got to interview everyone for this article, which was so crazy to me at the time. It was like, I was like, oh my God, Will Rowland, who now is obviously the best and is a dear friend, but at the time, and Joe and all of these people, I was like, oh my God, I get to interview Joe Iconis and Will and George and Jason and Lauren and all of these amazing people. And I was on the radio. I was on National Public Radio.
Oh my God.
For this article. And that also introduced me to this whole group of people that very much took me under their wing and were so kind. And a few months later, Jen had asked me to be a production assistant on Joe Iconis' Christmas show at 54 Below. And this is the middle of my sophomore year. And I was like, oh my God, yes, obviously. And that's where I really learned a lot, made a lot of my first connections. And I'm still so grateful to them and friends with all of them to this day. And that's kind of where I got my start. And then I wound up like just kind of being the go-to young person to help with stuff. So I like ran a panel for them at Broadway Con. And then when the show like moved to Broadway, the rest is kind of history.
That is so insane.
It is so insane. And I remember talking to Jen like a few years after this had happened and being like, I still don't understand why you picked me to do this article. And she was like, I just met you and I thought you got it. And we were looking for someone. I was like, that girl I met the other night, she seems like she'd be great for this. And I just like knew that you would be great for this. And I was like, that is crazy. And I'm so grateful. And that's why I also like am very lucky that I am where I am right now in my career. I still have a long ways to go, but I do feel like I've been welcomed by this industry, at least like a toe dip in. So if there's ever a moment that I can help a young person get to where they need to go, like people did that for me. So it's very important to me.
That was me. I am the young person.
Truly, anyone that like, whether it's like a chat or a job or something as big or small as either of those things.
I've been lucky to have a lot of internships under my wing in my past, and none of them have been the same, which I've been so lucky about, which is also really crazy because now I have the knowledge of, not even a full knowledge, but at least like a dunk in so many different aspects of the industry that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way. I keep learning, like the more projects that I work on, I keep learning about different jobs that people have. And, I'm doing what I'm doing right now, which is this influencer marketing and my interview series. But who knows? Maybe in 10 years, I'll be producing something. Maybe I'll be stage managing something. I don't know. But it's so interesting to learn about all these different jobs that you can do. And when the time is right, find the thing that sticks for you.
Yeah. Also, you wrote for Broadway World.
I did my sophomore year. So I did this like stuff for Be More Chill. And then that went into me assistant producing stuff at 54 Below because now I was introduced to the venue and I was like, oh, there's a lot of young people that are putting cool stuff on in this venue. How can I help? And I would just DM people on Instagram and be like, hey, like I saw you're doing this concert. Can I like carry water bottles for you? Like I just want to be in the room and I want to learn. And I hopefully I felt like I was never greedy in that way. I was not like, I need to put on a show right now, like blah, blah, blah. I feel like I really took my time and I was like, let me learn and digest like and soak up like a sponge as much information from you. Like I want to be in the room and watch and learn. And then eventually that led to me feeling comfortable enough to put on my own shows at 54 Below, at the Green Room, at other venues like that. But that started my sophomore year in the spring. And at the same time, I got a Broadway Worlds internship where I like would have to write random articles like for X amount of hours a week.
That was my first introduction to the industry. I think I learned a lot about myself through that experience.
I do think that it was cool to think that like the brand Broadway World I was involved with. I was like, that's cool. And
yeah,
a step is a step.
I think I learned a lot about my work ethic in that.
Okay. On like being able to like get a task and get it done in a few hours.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like just being creative in a new way. You had a lot going on in college, going back and forth. How did you stay motivated and creatively engaged while balancing school, extracurriculars, and actively working in the industry?
I feel amazing when I accomplish something.
Yes.
Whether it's the smallest thing of like cleaning my room or getting a big client and doing a whole campaign and whatnot, I am motivated by finishing something, completing something, like actually makes me feel unreal. Yeah. So it's a blessing and a curse, I think, because then I have this like urge and need to complete and do things. And when like there's moments where I'm like, Carly, you can just rest. Mm-hmm. You can just let it be. But I think that is a big proponent in how I was always wanting to do the next thing. And I also love to learn. I loved school my whole life. And I honestly miss classes. Like I miss taking classes. I love to learn and I love to grow. So I think I was always looking for the next thing that I could learn about and use in my life. And yeah.
How did your network help you build your success?
I think it's so funny because networking is a really interesting thing when you're in business. And when I started to be in this world, I was an English journalism major and I've never taken a business class day in my life. I probably should, but and networking was not something that was like in my bones. And it still is not in my bones. I feel weird about it. I feel weird about even like using the word networking. It just doesn't feel natural to me. However, I am someone that has always gravitated towards people and connections and building connections. And I genuinely love meeting new people. I ride off of the energy of other people and being around them. So I think that is one of my biggest assets in a way. And I don't intentionally I'm not intentionally trying to make things happen in that way, but naturally I just love meeting new people. And I've been lucky that's led to successes. But yeah, I think I've chosen to help out and work on things that I think I can really learn and grow from, like I said before. So doing that naturally, like there are other people that are involved. And I think also like believing and trusting in people that are not the most successful is going to be the key, and finding people that really believe in you and vice versa, and then coming up in this industry together. There's a lot of people that I met when we were all PAs on something, or we were all assistants on something, or like actors that I met before their big breaks, that when we were all like, they were just, in college and I saw their college production of whatever, and we had a mutual friend and we met, and like we were in each other's lives. And now we're all finding our groove. And I think being able to come up together and then support each other in that way is really important. I think you can always go to the top dogs and the producers and the marketing directors and the casting directors, all these things, or you could actually go to their assistants and the hardworking people that are at like the lowest level, and they're the ones who will actually vouch for you, advocate for you, and you can create a really strong connection and bond with. So I think that that's what I did, not necessarily on purpose, but just naturally being a young person. Like other young people just want to connect to people that they can relate to, and I will continue to hopefully make those connections through people that I feel really good about. And if I feel good about you and you feel good about me, then we should be able to make something great and magical together. If I don't feel that way, then I actually don't even want to be involved with whatever you're doing.
Oh, I think you're my favorite person I've ever met.
Oh my God, you're my favorite person, Jadyn. What?
You've created your own brand business at the age of 25.
Yes.
Crazy. What has been the biggest challenge that you faced?
I think with Picnic Playlist, it's an interview series where I talk to a bunch of Broadway people, and the no's are really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share all of the stories and talk to all of the people that inspire me and inspire others as I can. And at the same time, and I'm coming from a place, especially Picnic Playlist, of like pure passion and love.
Yeah.
At the same time, a lot of these people that I work with to get these actors and directors and whatnot on Picnic Playlist, it's a business. And ultimately, Broadway is a business, and it comes down to that. So that's been a challenge, is trying to understand that it's not personal, even though it can feel really personal. And if you're not getting if I'm not getting an interview or something's not going the right way, or a video's not popping off in the way that like I really want it to, and that I really care about it, that like to kind of just take a deep breath and remember, like, this is a business. Like, people are just trying to sell their shows and have success in that way. And so I think that's been a challenge, when there are people that like, there's Picnic Playlist episodes that I have spent money on, spent time on, like done whole things to prepare for, that have been canceled day of and day before, with people that like would change the trajectory of Picnic Playlist, that would like make such a difference. So I think not letting those get me down too much is something that I have to remember. So that's been a challenge. And I think that's just like a personal and emotional challenge that I've dealt with. And then I think also in the marketing and Picnic Playlist standpoint, actually for both of them, being a young woman who is starting her own thing, it's all on me. So like I said, it feels personal. Also, it feels like sometimes there are people that have been doing this forever, that are older, that are men, that are more well connected, and they can get into rooms that I can't get into. And it feels like because I'm a young woman, sometimes that's not taken as seriously, because it's like, oh, she's just doing this, it's fun, when like I really do care about it. I think that is definitely a challenge. And also being the only young female in a lot of these rooms, especially in the press world, like there's really only a handful of women that are on these press lines, and a lot of them are a lot older than me. So trying to ignore the imposter syndrome and make things happen.
And through those challenges brings success, which brings me to my next question. Let's talk about your New York Times article, which was all about how influencer marketing is changing the game. What do you see within the future of influencer marketing, and how has it changed marketing for theater?
I didn't know that article was being written. Well, I knew it was being written actually, but I didn't know that I was in the article until the day before it came out. I wound up talking to Sarah, who wrote the article, at a Great Gatsby influencer event that Catherine Quinn hired me to help run. And I spoke to Sarah, who works for the New York Times, and wrote the article there. But I just like didn't, I guess, realize that it was on the record. I'm sure she said it, but I was like working, so I was like, my head was kind of all over the place, and I like answered a few questions for her, and then I ran away to like go do what I needed to do. And then she messaged me the day before the article came out asking for like, I think, how old I was. And I was like, what the heck? And then it came out the next day, a New York Times article about influencer marketing that I was in. And that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, because I go back and forth. I'm like, should I be the one starting my own company, trying to change this wave of influencer marketing in Broadway? Like, this is crazy. Like, why I'm not the person to do this. And then that happened, and I was like, okay, I need to do this. Like, the fact that in the first 3 months of my company being created, I got featured in the New York Times, which is actually the article is right there.
I was just gonna be like, where's the frame?
The frame is right here.
Bring out the frame. Obviously.
So just my name and my quote in a New York Times article with the headline "Wooing Influencers to Enlarge Audiences for Broadway Shows." So yeah, like the first major piece of journalism about influencer marketing in Broadway, I'm quoted in. Like, that just gave me a huge boost of like self-esteem and a kick to keep going. Like, I honestly, like, that was crazy and major. And I'm so excited to see where influencer marketing goes for Broadway. I think that we've definitely done a good job, like right on the surface. But I think if influencer marketing is an iceberg, we're only seeing the top right now, and we got the whole iceberg to uncover. So I'm excited to see. I feel like Broadway is always 20 years behind. Influencer marketing is massive right now in every other industry. So I think in the next 5-10 years, we're really going to see budgets switch to that to help bring in all sorts of new audiences. Because I think even with traditional media, newspaper, ads, influencer marketing could have the greatest reach to a whole new group of people that never would, like, because if they're not in New York City and seeing ads on subways and billboards and things like that, and they're not just tuned into like traditional media, like, I just think this can really hit a new demographic of people in a very authentic way. So I don't know, I'm really excited.
So let's talk about Picnic Playlist. I am Picnic Playlist's #1 fan, as you know. I've been following you since the beginning.
Thank you so much.
I've seen every episode. So how did this start? What was your like initial idea, and how has it evolved since then?
Okay, so before Picnic Playlist, I would just do normal red carpet interviews, and I'm very grateful that all of the press people that I work with have given me a lot of opportunities to be on these carpets and make these connections. And so I started to like kind of make myself known in the theater press world by like going to all these carpets. The first Broadway carpet that I did was Company right after the pandemic. And it's so funny. We were like all wearing masks. It was freezing outside. It's so different than how it is now, thank God. But I'd be on these carpets. So I learned how to like quickly interview people and get what I needed to get in like because those carpets are very overwhelming. You get everybody for like a hot second. So you need to know what you're going to say. You need to be able to communicate it really well, and you need to be able to edit it together really compelling. So I learned a lot by doing that for, I think, like 2 years, maybe 3 years. And something I did also learn while I was doing red carpets was that sometimes they were really great. And then sometimes I just felt the urge to continue the conversation. I had more questions. I had deeper topics that I wanted to talk about. I had more fun things that I wanted to talk to people about. So about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, I was craving this series type of show, a way to talk to people in a little bit more long form and also share it on social in short form content, but just get more clips in a more authentic way out to the people. But I didn't want to do it like other people had done it. There's a lot of Broadway content out there that you can get of people just sitting in chairs talking about the shows and the topics. And I know the things that I grew up on that I loved were things like Side by Side with Susan Blackwell. That's a huge inspiration to what I do. It is like probably the blueprint. Yeah. And I would want to see shows because I got to know and love these people in a real way through those series, where I was like, oh my God, I like, this person is so great. I love the way that they care about this thing, or they're so funny, or this and that. I need to go see them in their show. I care so deeply about this person. So that's kind of what I want to convey to my audience. And so I always wanted to do this series. And then I was trying to think about the angle that I could twist it from. And moving to New York City, I got to spend a lot of time in Central Park that first summer that I lived here and rediscovered my love for sitting in parks and having picnics. I'm like, there is nothing better than going to Central Park on a gorgeous day with a blanket and some food and some music and your best friends. It's just the actual pinnacle of what you should be doing on a great day. I wanted to bring that vibe to my interviews, which is how I came up with the picnic kind of setting. I went back and forth a lot on if we were going to do them in the park. We wound up turning it into doing it in the theaters and in dressing rooms because I loved the idea of also bringing this thing that you do in the park and like you do with your friends and your family. And like, it's a really intimate way to get to know somebody into their dressing rooms, into like where they're doing the show, into their space. And also, what a better way to get to know somebody in a grounded way than sitting on the ground with them. Like the second that you make a Broadway star sit next to you on the ground, I'm like, okay, we are not serious here. We are serious, but we're not serious here. Like we are chill. We are just having a conversation that I want viewers when they watch to feel like they're having the conversation with us. We're sitting on the ground. I bring food to everyone. We're eating food. We're like laughing. And then the playlist part of it was like, what is the angle? I want to talk about all the things, but like, how can I angle it so it's different? And also, what do I want to know about these performers and or beyond? And something that I was so curious in is people's music taste, because I think that a lot of Broadway people and theater people love theater, but they actually love a lot of different things.
Yes.
So a lot of people love pop music. They love country music. They love soul music. They love, and I think so many of us care about our favorite artists nowadays. And it's so cool to think like, oh my God, Lin-Manuel Miranda loves this person. And so do I. And what a cool new thing to bond over. So that's how the playlist thing kind of came about. It's like, let's talk about the music that you love. And a lot of that time, the music and artists people love inspire the work that they do. So that's kind of the origin story of Picnic Playlist.
Oh, the moment you let me sit on the blanket for the first time actually made my life.
You have that energy now.
Was there any episode that you have been particularly nervous about?
Well, the first episode that I filmed was with Jeremy Jordan.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And shout out to Team Vivacity for making that happen. I thought about this series for a while, and then I got pitched to do a one-on-one interview with Jeremy Jordan for like their press day when he was rejoining Little Shop, which is a crazy sentence. But I was like, you know what? I feel like Jeremy Jordan on socials is really fun. Team Vivacity, the press team, they're all female and they're really cool. If there's any time to try this, now is the time. Mm-hmm. So I like emailed them. I was like, I have this idea. They're like, sure, let's do it. I'm like, that's crazy. I haven't even done an episode yet. Thank you so much. So I was really nervous before that because I hadn't done it with anyone. So I was like, is he going to be weirded out? Is he going to be down to clown? Like, this is not a normal interview. What's going to happen? So basically there were different people coming in at different time slots to interview him. And so I came in with my blanket and my basket, and I bought like Baked by Melissa cupcakes as like I didn't know what food he liked. I was like, I don't know. And I think I had chips and water. I had like a lot of food because I was like, I don't know what this man can eat. Is he gluten-free? I don't know. Like literally panicking. It was on the stage at the West Side Theater at Little Shop. I set up the blanket and the basket, and my camera person was there and set up and whatnot. And then he walked back in with the blanket and basket set up, me sitting on the floor waiting for him. And he's just like, oh, hey, like, what is this? And I was like, is it okay for you to sit on the floor? And he's like, and he luckily was so amazing. Like the perfect first guest for all of the reasons. So down to earth, so down to clown. And I was like, it was just so funny because I feel like he like walked into like a romantic picnic, like set up just for him. And I didn't know how it was going to go. We had a limited time slot, but it wound up going really well. But I was really nervous for that first one. And once I did it with Jeremy Jordan, I felt like
you can do it.
Like, all right, I could do it. I can do it with anyone. So I think I was nervous about that. Yeah. Oh my God.
Who do you want to have a picnic with? Who's your dream?
Leah Michelle, obviously.
Obviously, you can totally do that.
And Jonathan Groff.
Together.
At Leah Michelle's Hamptons house.
Right.
Whoever can come to and the new baby, and
Everyone's invited.
everyone's invited. No, actually, it is that. It's Lee Michelle and also Jonathan Groff, but specifically Jonathan Groff, Susan Blackwell style.
Right, with the goat.
On his farm. Well, there's two. There's the one where they're riding around
Yes.
in the horse and carriage, like in Central Park. But no, the one where they go to his farm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Like I want to do a picnic on his farm in Lancaster with Jonathan Groff. That is the dream.
With the fainting goats and the corn when you shake it.
No, I need that.
Best episode. Okay, Carly, I have the biggest surprise for you ever. I've been holding this off. I would not tell you about this. All the listeners, I wouldn't tell Carly about this. I've been thinking about this for weeks, and I'm really excited.
I'm so scared.
We are doing a picnic playlist.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Actually, it's so funny because I've done a handful of podcasts in my day, not many, but every time people do ask me questions and like do fun games and stuff with me, I'm always at like a loss for answers. And I'm like, you know what? Now I feel how my guests feel, which is so like, what's happening? But I'm gonna try my best. So I'm ready.
Right. So all of these questions are they're inspired by your previous episodes. So here we go. Do you have this is like rapid fire picnic playlist. So
Okay, rapid fire.
rapid fire. Do you have a get ready song you listen to while you get ready to shoot?
Oh my God. Right now, it's been a lot of Sabrina Carpenter.
Sure.
So specifically Juno and Slim Pickens.
Obviously. That's like right.
Yeah. And I was a Sabrina Carpenter fan before everyone else. I'm just
Like you can't get
like,
it.
I saw her. Yeah, I saw her in many concerts in my day.
Do you have a favorite song to sing in the shower?
I don't have a favorite song to sing in the shower, but I feel like I always play music while I'm in the shower. And recently I've been doing a lot of Bring It On. Bring It On always slaps.
Right.
So I've been listening to that in the shower.
Yeah. I've been listening to Wicked in the shower lately, personally.
Well, that too. I literally, by the way, have the Wicked Monopoly set right here. So I'm so excited for this movie.
Is there a musical theater song that reminds you of your younger self?
Yes. I'll cover you reprise. No, I'll cover you original, not reprise.
Okay, but reprise is super.
Reprise is I'll cover you reprise makes me cry, but I'll cover you like the upbeat one, just like is one of my favorite songs ever. And Rent was one of the most pivotal shows that I did growing up, and I loved growing up, and I saw growing up, and I love Rent so much. So I'll cover you from Rent.
As a kid, what was your go-to audition song?
My go-to audition song was I'm Not That Girl from Wicked.
Ooh.
And it was because when I was in like 4th grade, I always have had this low raspy voice. The vocal fry is real. So when I was younger, one of my like theater teachers was like, you can hit that note and I'm not that girl at the end, where it's like, I'm not that girl, like whatever, for like nowadays. But so they're like, yeah, like this is a song for altos. And I was like, slay. So I'm not that girl from Wicked.
Yeah. You should do the notes.
I'm not that girl. Girl. I don't know. I can't do it anymore.
A song that you love to scream sing in the car.
A song that I love to scream sing in the car. Chicken Fried by Zac Brown Band.
Right, totally. I'm gonna go with another Broadway one. I'm gonna go really niche. Skater
Okay.
Planet from Kimberly Akimbo.
Sure. Shout out Justin Cooley. Shout out Fernell Hogan. Shout out Nina White, Michael Iskander, and Olivia Elise Hardy. And
Shout
everyone.
out the whole entire cast.
And I started saying names of I love everyone in the cast, so I need to shout out. I guess if you want my Broadway song that I sing in the car on long drives, I love to sing Les Mis.
Okay. Right.
And I also love to listen to Miss Saigon.
Two amazing choices. I feel like Skater Planet is such a it's such a road trip song for some reason. I feel like it's just
I mean, Great Adventure as well feels like a road trip song.
No, yeah, I love
but
that.
I think that I'm always like Zac Brown Band music, country music is for my go-to like road trip song because it's so road trip.
A song that will always make you cry without a doubt.
For Good from Wicked.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Also, Words Fail from German Hansen every single time. I don't know what they put in there.
Or the Make You Feel My Love Glee version.
What's a song of your dream role?
My dream role is Alexi Darling in Rent. So voicemail number
Number 3.
number 3. I don't remember what number it is. So yeah, that's my dream role, Alexi Darling.
That's a really interesting take.
I feel like I would slay it.
No, you would.
Alexi Darling, Labor Day weekend in
Broadway-
East Hampton on the beach.
When Rent goes to City Center, which is going to happen soon, I just feel in my bones. I'm going to pitch you.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is, if they needed someone to do just the Alexi Darling voicemails and didn't have to like cover the like track of Alexi Darling, I could do it in a second. And I would do it in a second.
No, but that wouldn't be your first stage debut on Broadway. On Broadway.
No. I've been on the stage of Broadway actually multiple times, which is a crazy statement. The first time was closing night at Be More Chill. We all came out after the show closed and sang the goodbye song.
Right.
Or like that, technically. And then obviously El Mago Pop, the magic show. I was an audience volunteer and I was on the stage for that. So probably veteran here.
So you need a playbill page is what you're saying. Basically.
Yeah, where's my like IMDb, my playbill?
Yeah. So what's your favorite overture?
I mean, the Merrily Overture
Gorgeous.
is fantastic. But I think the Miss Saigon Overture as well. I love Miss Saigon.
The New York, Morning in New York.
I didn't see New York, actually.
Carly, what?
You can't catch every show.
I loved that show.
It just closed a little too fast. I didn't get to it.
I cried when it closed. That is like one of my favorite shows of the last few years. Like I'm so obsessed with it. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But if not that, Merrily is good. I really like the Newsies Overture too. Yeah. It brings back good memories. Lastly, your favorite Broadway song ever.
My favorite Broadway show ever is Spring Awakening, but I think my favorite Broadway song ever is Being Live from Company. I just think those lyrics and the music, it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful song.
No, I totally agree. I actually don't think I could answer that question either. Actually, I totally could. I'm going to go it has to be the last 5 years. Because I
love 5 years too. There's so many that I love. I have a list of like songs that I want my friends to sing for me, which is it's fun being friends with talented people and then making them sing songs that you love.
Wait, that's so amazing. But my answer, I figured it out. It's a part of that from the last 5 years.
Part of that from the last 5 years. Are you excited for Nick Jonas, Adrian Warren?
Don't even talk to me. I've never been worried about anything in my entire life. Like, this is really big. This is big. But lately, also, I've been into Pandemonium from Spelling.
This production was Chef's Kiss, so that makes so much sense.
Because I like the beginning when he's like, my oh my. I could just listen to that one part on repeat.
It's my oh my. That word's so moronic.
So moronic.
Yeah.
All right, Carly. That was the rapid fire of the day. You survived the pod.
Oh, thank God. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah. I'm so excited that we did this.
I'm so honored. This was such a great conversation. Thank you for being so thoughtful and taking the time. And thank you for also all the amazing things you do in my life always. It means so much to me. Stop. And I'm so excited for you in this podcast. I can't wait to listen to every episode.
I'm so excited. All right. You did it. Yes. Bye, Carly.
Is it ending?
It's ending.
All right. Thank you so much.